You may not like hearing this, but your ability to get results for your nutrition clients may be over before you even start working with them. And here's why. It all comes down to expectations. What your client expects will happen, what you expect from your client, and what your client expects from you. And when you're not crystal clear about this from the beginning, about expectations, the results are bound to suffer. Which is why today I'm going to show you how I like to set expectations for my nutrition clients from start to finish. Okay, let's talk about where to start. So before I start working with a nutrition client, I'm going to presume that they have some assumptions around what they're going to accomplish. Of course, I always try to help them set some SMART goals so they can have realistic expectations around what they're going to be able to accomplish. But really, my job is to paint the picture of what is possible if all goes well and they're able to stick to a plan. But even then, I'm not a miracle worker. Things don't always go to plan, and that's okay, but my job isn't to squash dreams. I can't tell you how many times I've got messages from potential clients that look something like this. Can you make me look like this? And this? Or what do I need to do to become this? These are real pictures that people have sent me over the years. I think sometimes they think that I have a magic wand or something. And of course, my gut reaction is to say something like, well, those people are professionals. What you're seeing isn't really real. Plus, they probably trained 7 days a week and made huge sacrifices just to look like that. And they've probably taken some performance enhancing drugs. And if you're really committed to looking like that, you might want to invest in a time machine and go back and pick new parents. That's what I want to say, but you can't say that. But you could also help them do something like that. And who are you to judge? When you have big goals, there's actually less paths to get there, so you're actually more likely to be successful. Of course, you want to be realistic about things, but in my experience, people are going to find that out on their own, on the path to what's best for them. So my job is to help them get what they want while also balancing these two competing things. But to set some clear expectations, I want them to have a clear idea of what is possible, a target to shoot for, and the realistic work it will take to get there. And everyone's going to be a little bit different. It's also going to become very important to set priorities here, because you can probably accomplish it all, but you might not be able to accomplish everything all at once. So when my clients have competing goals that might be somewhat conflicting, I wanted them to make one of them a priority. So what they want can be aligned with the right effort, time frame, and compromises. I also want to explain to them why I expect them to do things in a certain way using the method that I follow. I know it's because it gives them the best possible chance at success, or we wouldn't be doing it, but they may not know that yet. So here's where the most important expectations come into play, and this is where we go into the middle. Given their goals, I want to be able to define or at least describe what sticking to the plan would look like. We call this adherence in fancy coaching terms. They need a target to shoot for, and it's your plan to set it, and adherence is just how well do they stick to that target. So what would I consider sticking to the plan? For my clients, it looks like hitting their nutritional targets and exercise prescription within a given range. Therefore, there's no question if they stuck to the plan or not. Once I have this communicated, I start to set expectations around what being a good client would look like. These are all the things I communicate to my client: when the client should check in, what information do they submit, where do they find it, what happens if they don't check in, what information do I need to properly coach them, and how I expect them to communicate with me, which is concise, straight to the point, not a long-winded story about how their dog ate their meal prep. When I set clear expectations around what I need to coach them, I'm a better coach and they're a better client. So I communicate this as we start working together, and then I do my best to enforce it and also remind them. And actually, this reminds me, if you haven't yet downloaded my nutrition client onboarding template, I want you to do that now. Drop the words onboarding in the comments below and I'll personally send it over to you.
And I've been thinking a lot more about this concept, so I just wanted to dive into it a little bit more. You want to set these expectations right from the beginning of the coaching relationship. You want to put them on paper. You want to get everyone to agree to them. This is why I include these details in a welcome email to all of my clients right from the beginning of the coaching relationship, because you're no longer playing bad cop this way. When you have to remind people, this is the stuff that they've already agreed to, and it should be crystal clear. So when your client gets off track, or they stop checking in, or they start to lose a little bit of momentum, you could always go back to what they agreed was expected of them in the beginning of the process. There's no hoping that things are going to get better or get back on track. There's no hoping that things are going to be professional and that both parties are on the same page, because everyone already agreed to it. And it's because you set those crystal clear expectations right from the beginning.
But I also don't tell my clients about this stuff and what I expect for them. Sometimes I even get a little cheeky and post stuff like this on social media. The clients that get the best results are the ones that check in on time, do the best they can with what they have, and don't expect anyone else to do the work for them. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And then I see who comes out of the woodwork commenting, I feel like this is directed at me. Well, if the shoe fits, Brett. Just kidding, it's never directed at a specific someone, but when you have clear expectations between you and your client, everyone knows what they need to do. And then the work begins, which for the most part is the expectation that this process can be fun, but also boring. Consistent and boring. Punching the clock. Sometimes no news is good news. And also a few points before we move on. Number one, I also want to paint the picture that anything I ask from my client, it's in their best interest to get it to me. This isn't for me, it's for them. Give me more information so I can best help you. And number two, although I did use the example of posting stuff on social media about this, I spend most of my energy there talking about the results my clients are going to get and talk most about these expectations to my clients directly. They're going to learn more about what I expect from my clients through the actual coaching process, not through what I post on social media. That should be about what they're going to get, where they're going to go to. Lastly, we move on to expectations that I find important as we finish. My main philosophy around nutrition coaching is to leave people in a better place than I found them. If I don't do this, then I didn't do my job. And this means the expectation that I care about how things are going, good or bad. Not just when things are going swimmingly, but also when they're going bad as well. When there's some effort left to be desired. Not sugarcoating things, I save that for my keto clients. There's a time and a place to give my clients what they need to hear. But most of the time, the expectation is that they'll always have someone in their corner that believes in them and sees the best in them. Now, there are some times in this coaching relationship where things just don't work out. This is quite rare, but it does happen. And I have had some clients coming to me saying they want to give up or they want a refund. And if I feel that both parties have done everything that they can to make sure that things are working and putting the effort in, it's a tough situation to navigate. To avoid these situations, the first thing you need to do is make sure you troubleshoot everything. Dig deep, step by step, and make sure that there's nothing that you're missing. But past that point, if you genuinely think the client is following the plan and putting effort in, or they just can't follow the plan for unforeseen reasons, sometimes it's just best to cut your losses for both sides. In rare cases, it may not be the right fit or strategy, or maybe even their priorities have changed. But before you get there, try revisiting their goals and why they started this process in the first place. Focus on what they want to achieve and why it's important for them. By doing this, you shift the focus from being bad cop to providing guidance based on what they want to accomplish. Simplify the approach if necessary, take a step back, and make whatever you're doing much more tailored to their expectations. So if you find yourself with a client in this situation, that's where I'd start. Start looking for that low-hanging fruit and be very clear about why things aren't working as expected. After exhausting all options, it may be time to come up with some sort of fair resolution, possibly offering a partial refund depending on the time and effort invested. Always prioritize your coaching customer's best interest and try to save face. Most people are open to reasonable solutions if things didn't go as planned. In my experience, the expectation is that most clients do want to find a solution and work together. But these situations are rare. Overall, I do my best to expect commitment and patience all around. I can't expect my clients to be patient with the results if I myself am not passionate and compassionate about their effort. Expectations are everywhere. It's my job as a coach to define them, communicate them, and enforce them so everyone wins. Now, as great as all those tips are, if you're really serious about starting a nutrition coaching business, the next thing I'm gonna have you do is check out this video I've linked up right here. Next up, you're gonna learn more about how to deal with clients that just don't get results. So check it out here and I'll see you in the next video.